This is Dennis Brock, and this is his lovely wife, Jennifer. Dennis is the inventor of the Brock Magiscope, but he's also a very accomplished musician who taught himself guitar and fingerprinting when he was just 14 years old. We're on.
This is the surface adapter. I got this idea from the Franklin Institute. I used to be able to go buy a little microscope that looked like a pen, and it had this thing on the end of it, and it was so cool because you could set it on there. And then as you tilt forward, if you start off with these points here, being about where the two metals meet, the two different colors, in this case old brass, because the scope is probably about 15 years old that you got. And then the objective, you put that right about there. And if what you're looking is further away, you move it a little bit closer, or higher, you move it a little bit further back. Now what this really works, fellas, if you got an aquarium, if you get enough snails, the snail eggs will grow on the wall of the glass, and you can put this and push it in the thickness of the glass. I might make it a little easier for you to open. The thickness of the glass. In other words, you're going to open the inside of the aquarium glass. And you can see the algae growing on the inside of the glass, or snail eggs. I watch snail eggs grow, and I watch some protozoa get in the snail eggs and eat them too. I watch the whole thing just with this, because it'll go right through an aquarium wall. You just set it a little further in. And then you have an aquarium? Oh, see, that's cool. Look around where the rocks are. The rocks start. Put it right up on the wall. And if you set this just right, it'll be in focus. Just on the other side of the glass, the inside, when you put this right on the glass to steady it. At this power, you need to be able to steady things. That's why you have this. You cannot, here, try to hold this above that, just in the right spot. She's good with her hands, she could probably pull it off. But that's what this does. It stabilizes it for you. It's like a little finger that holds onto the ground and says, let's be, see, it's hard to do. But if I give her this, it steadies it. And as she tilts forward and backward, it goes in and out of focus. And she just always wants to keep this side open to the light, because that's where your light's coming from, right here. In this case, it's coming from there. Just push it in, it's right about there. The microscope that you have is quite old, but the thing about them is they work. There's 20 years worth of these out there. This one was made at least 10 years ago, and they work. They just keep working.
Well, they're amazing in that, you know, the kids use them for everything.
Everything. Yeah, they don't need to be afraid of it. There's literally nothing here. The only thing you can break is this. And you can break that, but it still works. It works on any solid object, even when that's not even on there.
Well, even if that breaks, that one's a free replacement.
We replace it for you, but the thing is, 99% of what they want to see works without that, because that's really for clear specimens. Anything that you put on here that's solid, and this is about as solid as you get, your steel wool. Now, that light is not coming through there now. That's working entirely off of what that light is reflecting off of the surface of the specimen. So whatever you put down there, regardless of that rod, will work.
Okay.
Now you notice how they all screw into the cap. That's just to keep them nice and neat from being touched. You notice that this has a lens on it. You can see the lens clearly. This also has a lens on it. Do you see it?
A little bit.
A little bit is right. It's the size of a pinhead. And that's also why it's very hard to clean.
Okay.
There's a lot of things wrong with giving this to a kid because it's too high a power. It's too hard for them to relate to. It's too hard to clean. There's no depth of field. There's no depth of focus. And it's really for slides or for water specimens where you're trying to see real detail. You can do blood work with this lens, okay? That's not something you need to do right now. This, however, is tremendously useful. This is your 40x objective. The objective is the lens downstream, the one down at the end. This is your 40. This is your 10. Now on top you have a 5x eyepiece. You multiply the 5 times this for the total power. 5x eyepiece, 4x objective, 5 times 4, 20x. Now if I take this off, it's now 5 times 10. I have 2.5 times more power now. See how it says 10? There? So it's 5 times 10, 50. If I had put this one on, you see this is an older stand. The newer stands have a ramp on them, like this. You see this ramp here? That enables this to ride on there, especially since we put a nylon bushing on the newer ones, so that you can do really high power. You don't have that, you have an older one. So that even makes this even less useful for you.
Okay.
Because you cannot steady it at that power. You don't need it. Everything she needs to do can be done with this power or the basic power. There's one other option. Jenny, can you bring me a rubber band?
Yeah.
Let me give you some of our official Brock Optical broccoli bands that we use for slide holders. Now this is in focus now. This is how we hold slides on. There are slide holders all over the country that are broken and missing because they're monuments to stupidity, the ones they have on regular microscopes. People play with them, they bend them, they take them off, they're all made out of metal. We use rubber bands. Nobody tries to steal the rubber band. In school you always have to worry about someone stealing something. Now I want you to see this. This is slides. This is a regular slide. Those are cells.
They're like strings.
Yeah. Let me show you what it looks like under the regular power. To give perspective. In fact, let's take a different specimen that has more detail. What does this say this is? This is the, here, read that to me.
Eagle.
What's it say up here?
Barium sulfurite.
Okay, this is a fern. That has to do with the internal structure. But this is a fern. It's just a plant. Let's look at it at the high power, and then we'll look at it at the low power so you can see the difference. Those are cells that you're seeing on there. All those different little blocks that make up the structure are cells. See that? Now let's show you what that looks like under the basic power. By the way, in here we have a higher power eyepiece, which enables you to double the power without worrying so much about, is the lens difficult to clean? Am I going to have focus problems? This is a better way to increase your power. Yeah. Now look at this. It's the same thing you were just looking at. You see?
It's like farther away. It's farther away.
It's right, further away meaning it's smaller. You would use this lens. Let's say you had some pond water and you saw some things flying around in there and you wanted to take a closer look at them. That's when you use this lens. You have some slides that you have. That 4X really is not the greatest lens for slides because that you need a little power for it. Now let me show you this. Hold on. Now, you're holding a real lens in your hand, so you do not want to touch the glass. And whenever you handle it like that. Now let me show you the same thing that you just saw. Whoops, never put it like that. Always like that. I'm going to show you the same little fern leaf with this 10X eyepiece. It becomes a whole different story now. It's huge. Now this is a wide field eyepiece. Now she has to be a little closer to it. I don't give this to really young kids because it's harder to use.
Okay.
So the only recommendations I can make for you for higher power at this point is the 10X objective and the 10X eyepiece. You're going to use the 10X eyepiece. See, all these are meant to be tight so that when you turn, in regular microscopes, when you turn them over, the eyepieces fall out. Well, we can't have that with children. So we purposely knock these out of round. We do it right here, so that when you put the eyepiece in, it does not fall out. See how hard that is to put in? When you put it in, don't do this. This is what everybody makes a mistake doing. They do that, and what does that do to that lens? Dirties it. Take that, hold it in your hand, take that, set it inside. Let me make it a little looser for you.